Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello everybody, welcome to one more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, and this week joining us from Hamburg in Germany is Jeremia Riedel. Hey Jeremia, welcome to the show.
Hi Vasco, nice to meet you. It's great to be on your show.
Absolutely. So Jeremia is an Agile Coach at sda.se. He's also a self-described explorer, enthusiast, and challenger. I really like the straight-to-the-point bio there, Jeremia. So take a minute, tell us a little bit more about yourself and how did you end up becoming a Scrum Master?
So the point was when I finished school back in the days, I didn't really know what to become. So I started studying tourism management, and after 3 up to 5 years, I realized, okay, maybe this is not the best thing for me, and I wanted to do a change in life. And what I did is that I did a master degree in economics, and beside that, I was working with unemployed people. So basically, working with unemployed people, I had groups of about 20 people, and I tried to figure out what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, and how can they get back into the job. And then I kind of looked together with them. I looked at what are their goals, how can they use their strengths and their weaknesses to reach their goals. And this was basically always a 5-week program, and I did group group work with them, but also did some individual coaching with them. So this was kind of the part where I first got into working with people, working with group, working with individuals, and trying to figure out where they would like to go. And then on the other hand, when I finished my master degree studies, I was working for a big pharmaceutical company. During my master thesis, we tried to work with augmented reality and tried to do some process optimization with the tool of augmented reality. And we tried to look back again, how can we use technology from the human-centered point of view to optimize processes? Because if you work with technologies like augmented reality, there's always this kind of fear that technology will rule humans. So we had to do the other way around, do it the other way around. So after having this human-based approach with the coaching with the unemployed people and this process-focused master thesis, I started working for a consultancy company. And they basically, when I started there, they asked me, hey, Jeremiah, you know what, we have a nice project for you. There is this Scrum thing, and there's a big OEM, and they need some support with Scrum. And I read about 2 weeks, I watched some interviews, and basically then I started there as a Scrum Master, and I was proposed as a Scrum Master.
So and you parachuted into the role then?
Definitely. It was it was really it was crazy because I had basically just read 2 weeks straight books and the internet stuff.
Yeah, it's very often said the consultants have the taxi ride to learn about the topic they're supposed to be consulting with their clients. And I guess your story is almost like that. I mean, 2 weeks is a little bit more than a taxi ride, but not much more.
Yeah. But the nice thing is, if you take it back, they didn't really need a Scrum Master, because they just need someone who's kind of putting those people together as a team and let them grow as a team. And Scrum as a framework was just one tool to get them together, to give them a focus, to give them a way of working.
And a name, right? Something to say, this is what we're doing. And I imagine that your background in coaching and process studies obviously helped you understand what were some of the things that Scrum was trying to do. And as it often happens, how we get started may influence our view on what Scrum is, but it isn't really the learning, right? The learning really only starts after the first few failures, which is, as today's Monday, Fail Monday here on the podcast, that's exactly the topic we want to cover. So, Jeremiah, take us on a trip to that story of a failure you have to share with us. A story of a moment where you as a Scrum Master, you did your best, but as it usually happens, and to all of us, the best just wasn't good enough. So tell us that story, Jeremiah.
what I did back in the days was I worked for a huge aircraft manufacturer, and I wanted to introduce Kanban as one of the tools. And I was working with six teams there. So there were like 6 teams there. One of them was like in Toulouse, one of them was in Getafe, the other one was in Filton, and 2 of the teams, they were like in Hamburg based. So I was pretty new like to Kanban, and I thought like maybe this is a good idea to introduce Kanban like to those 5 or 6 teams. And I got like all the people together. They were like, I don't know, like 100 people, and I thought like this is a really nice foot in the door approach, because like the aircraft manufacturing engineers, they are kind of like, they really like this Kanban idea. They like the Toyota production system idea behind it. It's kind of like really close to what they do already, because this whole agile thing is kind of like sometimes like a little bit, it's like too fancy. This is like from software development.
Yeah, it's not invented here.
It's not invented here. And why we are like aircraft manufacturers, so why would we use anything like agile? Because it doesn't work at our place, right? So
Exactly.
the whole Kanban idea was a little bit kind of like a foot in the door approach to, and by telling them about like Toyota production systems, they felt like, oh, this could really work for us. However, I was like the only person there, and I said, okay, I can do this. No problem, I can do this. So I get them like together, like, I don't know, 100 people like in one place together, and I did like, I used this Kanban Pizza game. I don't know, like if some of the people
Yeah, we'll put the link on the show notes. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. And I had like this 2 or 3 day workshop with them, where I tried to get into like the different practices of Kanban, tried to give them the opportunity to simulate with the Kanban Pizza game how this could work. And at the end of the workshop, every team had like the sidepod model. So what kind of like input do we have? How do we like the processes work within the team? What is the output? And how does the output reach like the customer in the end? So basically we had like everything set with this huge amount of people. Like I've never done like any workshop like this before, like of this size, and everybody was like super hyped. Yeah, this could work for us, right? The problem was it took like, I don't know, like 1 month to set up like the whole Jira thing. Like we didn't have any ticketing system, and they were like digitally working. So we didn't have any, teams couldn't work really with Kanban yet, because they had like in their on their computer, but like they didn't have any shared thing. And like the motivation after a while, after like 1, 2, 3 weeks, was like gone. And then I tried to remotivate like the people, like by flying in like to those different kind of areas where they're located. And then suddenly Corona struck in. So like the whole aircraft manufacturer was like kind of like down, and like the I don't know, like 1 month, 2 months preparation, like the whole workshop series, like the whole Kanban approach was like that. And they never got back to it. And maybe I have to admit that this was like kind of like too big for me.
So that's one possibility of what the dynamic was at that time. So definitely like a single person trying to help about 100 people organization move towards Kanban or Scrum is quite an epic journey, I should say. But you seem to get them all excited, at least at the start, and motivated. Before we dive into more details, what do you think was the biggest reason why, when they went back to their office, things weren't so exciting anymore?
You know, like if you have like workshops, and if you like sit all together in one place, you can kind of create like this vibe and the excitement. And the point is like, if nobody is really there to guide them, and this is like, they are like people like aircraft manufacturer, those are like really like those kind of like analytic people who know what they did like for the last 20 to 30 years. And this change management, maybe they just need like a person like physically there to guide them to get like those practices of that Kanban implies.
And also to answer questions, right? Because nobody knows everything at the start, even after a 2 or 3 day workshop.
You're right. It's just like a basic introduction, and there's like one person like for 100 people. It's just like crazy.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. The other thing that comes to mind is that, as we work, I mean, we'll talk more about change on Wednesday, but as we work with adoption of processes like Kanban, Scrum, whatever that might be, one of the things that happens is that the initial push, like the workshop that you have, kind of adds energy to the system, right? Like, as you said, people got motivated and excited. This could really work for us. But that's only the initial push. And one of the things that has come up very, very often is that once people get back to their daily routines and the push isn't there, then the energy dissipates. Kind of, it's lost, right? Like we have to have, if you will, injections of energy on a regular basis to stay true to our initial self-defined commitment of adopting a certain process, right? Like, of course, if you force someone to adopt a process, that's going to take a hell of a lot more energy to get them to continue than if they decide themselves to go there. But even if they decide themselves to go there, there's kind of this decreasing energy level all the time because the day-to-day work kind of takes over everything, right? Like it's called the rat race or the hamster wheel for a reason. Like, it's hard to see anything else.
I think you're absolutely right, Vasco. Energy is decreasing, and if you're not on site, if you don't go if you don't have like regular meetings, like for example, like in Scrum we call them like retrospectives, but you could like do like similar stuff like in Kanban, and just to look back, how do the processes work in the team? And if you're not there, if you not get back into the teams and push the ideas and push the practices, the initial energy is basically gone after a while, and that's what happened. And
and it can lead even to frustration and resentment, right? This is what we call a fad in the industry, right? Like, somebody comes with a great idea, it all sounds great, but then the idea disappears, and then another person comes with another great idea, and it all sounds great, but then the idea disappears, and we are in this, kind of a up and down curve all the time.
And I think, and like in this whole aircraft manufacturer, like the change management hasn't been great in the past, and people were not really asked to participate in it because it was always kind of like this hierarchy thing that you have to push change from the management level, and like the self-organization idea is not really set in the culture of this aircraft manufacturer. So always kind of like relying on the management to give those pushes.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
That's another...
That's an important cultural context to add to the story right there. Jeremiah, thank you very much for sharing this story with us.
Thank you so much, Vasco.
Monday is about what we learn from our obstacles and our failures. But tomorrow is Team Tuesday here on the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. We explore teams and their journeys, the habits they develop that threaten their performance, how each of our guests helped their teams evolve, and the one key lesson they learned from that experience. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.